Good morning and welcome to Today in LA. I'm Mike Amos, hoping that you're doing well this morning on, already Monday, the 29th day of January. So it's over. January is over pretty much, ladies and gentlemen, as we head straight into February. And of course, it was Christmas, but it's now getting ready for Valentine's Day on the 14th and Easter on down the road as we good morning, Pike County and Troy, Alabama today, and you folks watching us on Facebook out west. Right now, it is 7 o'clock, a little after 7 o'clock Central Time, 5 o'clock Pacific Time. So we're up and going in Troy, Alabama this morning. Of course. Real good article this morning on Troy University baseball and some of the players that will be representing Troy in baseball this year. We're gonna go over some of that today. We also want to touch on the Super Bowl coming up this weekend, and should be quite a battle, and we'll be talking about that, and also basketball action galore. Troy lost 2 on the road this past week, and now we'll have to recover and get ready for South Alabama. That's the game to be played here on Saturday, so we've got to get ready for that. And of course, that's a big game for Troy as far as the Sun Belt Conference goes. Well, and of course, if you woke up and you walked outside and said, "Hey, honey, I won't even need a coat today," or "I won't even need socks today." Well, hey, it might be like that today, but on into the night, it'll be 32 degrees. The freezing temperatures tonight, and hey, how about a high of 40 tomorrow? So cold weather has not left us. So get ready for a big winter's wonder night. And hey, you're going to have to leave that extra cover on the bed. I can remember growing up in Troy, Alabama as a kid, and we had a heater in the, back then nobody had central air or central heating, and especially central heating, and you hovered up by the heater in the hall, and and of course it jutted off into the bedrooms, and no heat in the bedrooms, but was a heater in the hall. So what we would do on cold nights, we would put the pillow on the heater and get it all warmed up, and then make a dash for the bed because the floor was always cold. You shut off. See, kids today would not realize this, that what you did, you shut off rooms back then, and stayed in the area. Like if you had a television room, you kept it shut off from the rest of the room so it would be warm. And then the kitchen, everybody hovered around the kitchen in the mornings because that's where the stove was, and that's where the warm feeling, warm room would be, because there would be something in the oven every morning. Either cheese toast or cinnamon toast, my favorite cinnamon toast, and I still like cinnamon toast. And you folks that don't know what I'm talking about, shame on you, because cinnamon toast today is a wonderful treat. And you can take loaf bread and put it on a tray. This is the way I do it, and I get some cinnamon, and I spray them all over, say 6 slices of bread. Cover it all up with cinnamon, and then I get some butter, and I go ahead and cut me a little slab of butter for each piece of light bread, or you want to call it light bread, piece of bread, and then you take some sweetener and trickle it over those 6 slices of bread, and instead of putting it in the oven, do it the quick way. Put it on bake in the oven. That's what I do. I put it on bake and let it bake quickly, and In a minute, it's after everything is melted, it's pretty much time to take it out, and you can leave, whatever you leave in there is going to get more toasted. But I make cinnamon toast like that every morning, or not every morning, but a lot of mornings, and even at night. And of course, again, if you're using whole wheat bread and you're using, well, of course, you use a light butter or whatever, a non-fattening butter if you can find some, or margarine. It's not so fattening. Of course, cinnamon's not, and then of course the sweetener's not. But it does make for a pretty nice little sweet tooth take care of. And folks, if you ever had cinnamon toast out there, call me on the phone this morning. Of course, cheese toast is even easier than that, but I like the quick way to do cinnamon toast. And again, now it stays in the oven long enough to brown and to crust up a little bit. But once you pull it out, it is a delicious treat. And of course, I had that growing up quite a bit. And every now and then, I'd have scrambled eggs and bacon, and then a lot of times we'd have cereal. And I don't know about you, but you live with a brother, and if he got my socks, or everything came out in the in the cleaners. Usually, we got a big bag of a covered paper bag of clothes every week from the cleaners. I don't know. That's another thing you don't have anymore, is people going to the cleaners. Back then everybody didn't have a washing machine, and surely everybody didn't have a dryer. And you either had a washing machine and hung out to dry, or if you were rich, you had a washer and a dryer. But also what we had a lot of times, his name was Mr. Kelly. Bobby Kelly's daddy would bring us a big paper wrapped container that was full of clothes. It was blue jeans and underwear and socks and whatever, and we sent it all to the cleaners. He'd come by and pick it up. I remember it was wrapped in a sheet. I'm pretty right about that, if I can remember. And when that came as a little boy, I can remember this. We'd open it up because all those clothes would be warm inside, because they would just put them, got them out of the dryers at the cleaners, and it would be warm, and we'd just jump in there and have a big time with the clothes. But those are little things that happened when I was growing up that kids wouldn't even think of today, especially closing off rooms in your house so you could keep warm in the wintertime. and of course, it was. I don't feel bad about anything growing up. Hey, I can remember stomping clothes. This is as a kid, and hey, you think about it. You put the clothes in the tub. You put the soap, or whatever, the soap powder, or whatever you call it, and in some warm water. And my mother used to say, "Who wants to stomp the clothes?" And you go in, and then all that it was fun. It really was as a kid. And you got in there barefooted and stomped the clothes, and then they were rinsed out and then hung out to dry. And that now somebody that had always had a washing machine, didn't have that problem. But hey, it did the job. Stomping clothes. Can anybody remember doing that? Whoa! But you know what? I loved it. I loved it. Everything we did growing up, I really do. Think about it and love it. And of course, I've shared the times I'd go out on a cold winter's morning and pick up pecans, and I could also tell you that, hey, every week you made sure your daddy didn't even have to tell you that you mowed the yard and kept your yard in good shape, and you know, everybody had pride back then. Most everybody, and you know, they kept the yards mowed, and my mom always worked in the flower beds and so forth. And my mother told me that she loved watering plants, and she loved working in the garden. She loved hoeing in the garden or in the flower bed. She loved to dig. That's what it was. She loved to dig. And you know, and she kept out. You always had beautiful flowers, and of course of course we kept the yard mowed and so forth, and didn't have a big huge house or anything like that. But you know what? It was enough for 3 boys. And of course my older brother was 12 years older than everybody else, so he left home early and went off to the Air Force, and later on, of course, came back, retired, went back to school, and got a double retirement, lived in South Carolina. But you know, I want again, you know, growing up was fun, and it wasn't always easy. We had responsibilities, we had chores that we would do, and if you didn't do them, come on in here, son. You're gonna have to pay the pauper. if you didn't do what you were told to do, you got a whipping. Hey, that was fair. If you did what you were told to do, you didn't get a whipping. So hey, back in the old days, hey, you knew that if you didn't do right, you had to pay for it. You know, every now and then it would be just you're gonna have to stay in the yard all day long. But not with my daddy. Hey. Yeah, you paid the pauper, and hey, and you know, and he didn't do anything that I didn't deserve. I'll just tell you that right now. But it was different. People, you know, when the last time you heard somebody whip a child with a belt? Oh man, that is terrible. Well, if you did right, if you did what you were supposed to do, you didn't get whipped. So what I'm saying, you always knew that if you didn't do what you were told to do, you had to pay for it. Now every now and then, good morning, you're on Today in L.A. How you doing?
My name is Bud Luverne.
Bud for Luverne. Bud, you've been been spanked with a belt before, haven't you?
Listen, when I was growing up, my mother never did whip us. It was always Daddy. He was always the one to punishment when I was growing up. I'm the oldest of me and my 2 sisters. And talking about growing up back in the day, let me tell you something back in the day. And this day and time is so relevant and so much reality. Back when we was growing up, kids this day and time, we'll have kids come home to eat 5 o'clock. Mama or their mama or granny or whoever have something on the table. If they don't want it, Nanny, cook me a pizza. Nanny, fry me some chicken strips. Nanny, take me to the Subway. Well, let me tell you something.
You must have been rich, Bud. You must have been rich.
No, I'm talking about now.
Okay. Okay. I got you.
Listen. When we were growing up, at 6 o'clock, supper was on the table.
You're exactly right.
If you wasn't there to eat supper or lunch, very seldom at lunch, because both my parents worked. But at supper time, when Mama put it on the table, you better be there to eat. It wasn't no fix me a cheeseburger, fix me a hot dog. You eat what Mama had on the table, and 9 times out of 10, what Mama fixed to put on the table at supper is what Daddy wanted.
Yeah. Well, and another thing, Bud, back in my day, hey, if you didn't eat it, if you put it on your plate, you ate it.
Absolutely.
And you didn't leave the table without eating it. If you put it on your plate, you ate it. You didn't waste food. That was one thing that was very important.
You're exactly right. If you didn't eat at 6 o'clock, you wouldn't make no sandwich later, you'd go to bed hungry.
Yeah. Well, you know, and of course, you're a little bit different in age, I think, than I am. You were raised where most everybody had air conditioning and refrigeration, and I don't go all the way back to the days where there was an ice man, especially in the country, that would go to the ice company every morning and get ice and put it in in the refrigerator. What it was, you'd have a refrigerator where you put the ice up top, a big old whatever you call it of ice, big square of ice that would sometimes last you all week. You know what I mean?
I do, and let me tell you what I do remember. I remember the first time I seen a color TV Daddy brought home in 1966. Brought home a color TV, and we thought then we was in high country.
You thought you were rich, didn't you? You thought you were rich.
Absolutely, and I tell you what I do remember now. You remember, and I know you do. I don't know you being raised in Troy, but out in the country back in the day, we used to have the old rolling store.
That's right. And they're coming back. Did you know that? I've heard in the big cities it's starting to come back a little bit.
That's right. And also, when we were growing up, we didn't have a fast food place to go to either like we do now. So we had to eat what was on the table.
Yeah, no question about it. And hey, I can remember my mother sending me up to Davis's grocery on the corner. It was right up the street. I lived on Orion Street. Right up the street on the corner, one store was Davis's, and across the street was now if I can't remember this is crazy. But we have two stores, and I always my mother would tell me to go up the street and get some bologna, or go up the street and get some pimento loaf. And of course we had a charge account, so I always loved to watch him shave that bologna, and you know, they would leave that red label around it. You know what I mean? And then we would have fried bologna sandwiches. Man, that was a delicacy. I got excited. If somebody put that in front of me right now, I'm not saying I wouldn't eat a bologna sandwich, but if somebody put that in front of me for supper, I would probably throw my nose up at it.
You probably would, but I tell you, I would not love them. Throw a little mustard on that, a little onion.
You're exactly right there. Hey, you're right there. Hey, bologna without mustard, you're right. I'm a mustard. Yeah. And you know, to fry it, you had to cut around the side so it wouldn't bubble up on you. You remember that?
Yes, sir. Sure do. Listen, one other thing before I go, since you was talking about.
Don't go, man. Don't go. You don't have where to go, man. Talk to us.
Well, I know Mike likes to call in, and
no. Hey, listen. If he calls in, we'll put him on another line. Go ahead.
We got them a big win Saturday afternoon by beating number 12 Oklahoma.
Oh boy, and you know they shut that guy down, and that's what you do. You shut that guy down, and you and play defense.
Well, that's what they done. They put Jones on Trevor Young, and he had his lowest point production at 17 Saturday, and they come out and played a lot of man-to-man defense, and Coach Avery just had them playing ball. Now I can't remember right now who they play this week, but it was a big win. If they continue to win 4, 5, 6 more ball games, that victory there, along with beating Texas A&M early in the year when they were 5th, and Rhode Island. Now they beat Rhode Island, and Rhode Island's in the top 20. So
no question about it.
Nice wins there, and they played a tough schedule. And I looked at bracketology yesterday, and they look like they may be 7 or 8 teams in the conference to get into the big dance.
Oh, that's going to be great. Hold on a second. I'll put you on hold. Now, if I lose you, I want you to call me back now.
I will.
All right, here we go. All right, let's see here. Good morning, you're on Today in L.A. How you doing?
Hey, Mike, Will Matthews.
Will Matthews, won't you please come home? Where you been, Will? Where you been?
Kansas City.
Going to Kansas City. Kansas City, here I come. Boy, that was a great bop song. Did you know that, Will?
I did.
In Ozark, listen, there are a lot of boppers in Ozark. Hey, they would love to dance to Kansas City.
Yeah.
Well, Will, tell me, hold on a minute, I got to bring Bud. Well, I lost Bud. I want Bud to call me back if he will. But Will Matthews is on the phone, and what was your weekend like, Will?
Well, Robert Newsom, who's won the domino tournament in Andalusia multiple times, one of the great guys, a good friend of mine, passed away, and the family asked me to speak at the funeral. So I flew out to Kansas City Friday, and they had the funeral Saturday. It was televised. I mean, I'm talking, this guy was a big guy in Kansas City. The funeral was televised. It's on my Facebook if you want to watch it.
Huh.
My eulogy's on Facebook if you want to watch it sometime today. Robert was a great guy. He had 10 brothers and sisters. He came from basically nothing and moved to Kansas City, got in the real estate business, and brought each one of his siblings one by one up there, and they worked for it. It's a big family business.
Yeah.
And but he was 80 years old, but he would come to Andalusia with his brothers every year.
Yeah. Was he the guy that was a big fat guy? Big fat guy?
Well, he was.
Wasn't there one guy that was a real big fat guy that was a great domino player?
Yeah, that was him probably.
Yeah. Okay. And boy, that was a great Will. That was really first class of you to go out there. I mean, heck, you flew out there on your own expense and paid tribute to a friend of yours.
Yeah. And I'd never been to Kansas City, and it's a nice place. They've got. I'll go back probably sometime, and they've got a World War I museum that I'm gonna go back and see the next time I go back there.
I've heard of that. You know, New Orleans has got a World War reunion. Did you know that?
Yeah, World War II in New Orleans.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. World War II reunion. I mean, facility and everything. Will Matthews is on the phone, and of course it's Super Bowl week. What do you think about it? I can't get real excited. How about you?
Well, I just hope you already know who's going to win.
New England.
So yeah, New England's going to win. So you just got to put it in your.
It's by how much? Hey, the key is by how much? Is that right?
Well, New England's won 5 Super Bowls under Brady, I think. 5.
Yeah. He's got to go down as the greatest quarterback to ever live, in my opinion. You know, there's some good ones out there. I love Manning. I like Aaron Rodgers. I think he's a great player. You know, and I like Unitas, and I like Eddie LeBaron. But this guy, I don't know if anybody's ever done what Brady has done.
Brady's only covered the spread in a Super Bowl one time out of 5 wins.
Are you serious?
And that was last year, and they shouldn't have covered the spread. Atlanta led the game the whole time, but then they went into overtime, and Brady got a touchdown starting the overtime, and that made him cover the spread.
Oh boy, I didn't know that.
That's the only time that New England's covered the spread in the Super Bowl.
That's interesting. But they won a bunch of them, though, haven't they?
It's my understanding that there is some guy that bets $1 million on the Super Bowl every year.
Oh boy.
He's won it 9 straight times. He's picked
Right.
But they haven't revealed. They'll reveal it about Thursday.
Looks like to me right now, New England is it started out at 6 and now it's at 4. They're a 4-point favorite. What do you think?
I think Philadelphia's going to give them a game now. I really like the under in this game. I think it's going to be low scoring.
Yeah. Well, one thing that you know also is that Philadelphia is going to be good on defense. That's why they win with it.
They're really good. Really good on defense.
And so, of course, coaching, it's hard to beat Belichick, and this other guy I'm sure does a good job. But Belichick usually comes up with a plan that works.
Yep, he's a great coach.
I noticed that Jason Day ended up winning that tournament yesterday. Is still going. Is that right?
Still going. They start back at 10 o'clock this morning.
Was it darkness or what?
Darkness, yeah. They went 5 holes.
Say that they hold a 6-foot buddy in the dark on the 5th hole of sudden death playoff Sunday. Norrid from Sweden followed with a 5-footer and they're gonna play now. Will they play just one hole, or will it? They won't play 18, will they?
Yeah, they're gonna play. They're gonna start it on 18 today.
Oh, I know, but I mean, the playoff will stay just again at one hole.
Right, one hole. Whoever wins the hole gets it.
Of course, it was a three-way tie at the end with Day and Noren and American Ryan Palmer. J.B. Holmes, a long knocker, ended up finishing in fourth. I noticed that Tiger played pretty well. He made the cut. What do you think?
Tiger is close.
Well, you told me he'd never win again.
Well, I'll believe it when I see it. I think he came in 23rd, which is not playing any.
Yeah, I'll tell you what he did. He went 72, 71, 70, and 72. And if you're going to win in any tournament, you've got to be down in the 60s, don't you?
That's right. You're correct.
Yeah, but he made some good shots, made some big putts. If he puts it all together, I don't know if he'll intimidate anybody anymore, but that's what he used to do. He intimidated everybody, didn't he?
Yeah, and I think those days are over. There's so many good players now. It's just not even, not even funny. Lots of good players.
It really is, no question about it. And you don't think anybody will ever dominate like Tiger, then? Is that right?
I don't think so.
Nicholson played in the tournament, but did not really play that well. He's probably my favorite player, and he is. But he ends up starting off 70, 68, 76, and then 74. So he was 10 shots back at 288.
Yeah.
Tiger was, Tiger won, but 7 shots back, Will.
Yeah.
At 85, with a 285. So, you think he'll play in a lot of tournaments? I bet he will, don't you think?
He will, and he was interviewed, and he said he's just trying. That's where he wants to,
Yeah, you're right. Of course, I tell you this: people that are putting on golf tournaments, and I want to say the next one's going to be in New Orleans. I'm thinking, hey, they love it when they know Tiger's going to play in it because it's going to be a good crowd. Don't you agree?
He sells tickets. You're right.
I mean, he's good for golf, don't you think?
Oh yeah.
And of course, when Will Matthews plays in a dominoes tournament, it's real good for dominoes. Is that right?
Joy, I enjoy it.
Will, now look, Will, you said, "Oh, Mike, it ain't no way it's gonna snow in Ozark," but it did, Will. I caught you, Will. You got to start trusting these weathermen, Will.
They call it snow, but that wasn't really much of a snow.
Well, we had a big snow in Troy, and it stayed on the ground 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And of course, let me just say this. Everybody's talking about, oh, how nice it was yesterday and how nice it is right now. The low tonight's going to be 32. That's called freezing.
This time of year, though, that's not too bad, though, really.
Exactly. Will, I know your daddy was a lawyer. You lived in a brick house, and y'all had a washer and a dryer, and probably had central air and heating, didn't you?
Well, we didn't. We didn't until I was about 8 years old.
Yeah, and y'all bought a house that had air conditioning. Is that right?
Well, my daddy built a house when I was 8 years old.
Well, where was it? Over in near the high school, or near the country club, or where?
It was near the high school. It was right next to the high school.
Yeah, I got you. Well, the Matthew, is the stadium at the high school named after your family?
Actually, it's not. Now the football stadium's named after Dr. Matthews, who was the only doctor back in World War II in Ozark.
Oh, really?
He was a fine man. They named the football stadium after him. Now the high school is named after my grandfather.
Okay.
Sam Carroll.
So yeah, he gave them the land. Is that right?
That's right. gave
the
money.
the Carrolls in Ozark were sort of like the Hendersons in Troy. Is that right?
I don't know.
They own the banks. Didn't they own the banks?
They had a wholesale grocery business.
Oh, okay. M.O. Carroll Wholesale.
That's right.
Could you go down there and get anything you wanted? I know they had plenty of candy down there, didn't they?
I actually worked in there when I was in the summers when I was 16, 17 years old.
Yeah. Of course, Carroll High School, named after that Carroll family, and of course, like the Hendersons in Troy, they pretty much donated the land to build the schools and so forth. And of course, the great Charles Henderson was former governor of Alabama, was one of the wealthiest men in Alabama. He's a huge cotton broker, you know. And back then, you know what else was big? Will, you're not gonna believe this. Mules. Hey, the mule business. You know, everybody had to have a mule to earn a living. It was about like in the old days they had to have a mule, and then later on they were able to buy a tractor. But most of the time they had a mule.
They said there was a fellow in Ozark one time, his mule died, and he pulled him over and laid him on the railroad tracks, and the train ran over him, and then he sued the railroad to try to get the mule paid for.
Oh gosh, that's unreal. No question about it. You know, we were talking about traditional things. I know you're back in the cold weather days. We would put our pillow on the heater and get it real good and warm, then run to the bedroom and get under all that heavy cover. Well, the reason is because back then, if you didn't have central air and heating, you know, you had to close off the rooms, you know, and the bedrooms were always closed off, and you ran and got up under the cover. I still have to tell my wife that when she says it's cold, I say, well, that's what cover is made for. Don't you agree?
That's right.
You know what cover is?
Oh, yeah.
Oh man. Of course, Will Matthews is the owner and operator of the Matthews Insurance Group, and right here in Ozark. And of course, Will, tell us how we're gonna have a State of the Union address coming up tomorrow night. Is that right?
Tomorrow night. Yep.
All right. How big is this for Trump?
It's huge. I mean, it's huge for him, really.
I know. I bet he's got some kind of surprises up his sleeve, don't you think? I mean, something to excite the nation. Don't you think he'll have something like that?
I'm just excited the economy's doing so good. That's what excites me.
All right.
I'm excited the economy.
What's been the difference there? Is it because he's starting to make these countries pay them back, or what? What's the deal? I mean, where is all this income coming from?
All right, he has cut all these regulations that hurt businesses. He's cut those out. All this, you know, all these companies are going to other countries and you know, setting up shop in Mexico and Vietnam and all these other countries instead of doing it here, and he's bringing that business back, and the investors a lot of times would put their money over in Europe and other places, and they're putting it in the United States now, and it's.
And if you think about it, that's where it's supposed to be. I mean, hey, you know, you live in America, you buy American products, and let me tell you can't help but enhance the economy. You know, and the same way with oil, Will. It looks like that we're going to start using our own oil. And I've always wondered, why did we feel like we had to rely on other countries for oil? Because we've got more than we'll ever need. Isn't that right?
That's right, and we're doing it now. We've been doing it, and that's one of the things that has helped. Guess what the stock market was when he got elected?
I couldn't tell you. I know it's gotten better. I know it's gotten a lot better.
It's gone up 8,000 points since he's been in there in 1 year. It's gone from 19,000 to 27,000.
That is unreal. Now another thing, the job what's the job rate now?
It's the lowest unemployment since Clinton's first year or second year in office. And that's back in the 90s.
Isn't that amazing?
Oh, yeah.
Boy, I saw a special last night about Clinton. Man, they could have put him under the jail if they wanted to. Did you know that? You remember this guy that committed suicide?
Yeah.
Or they say he committed suicide. They brought that back up.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
you know, there's so many things that happen under the table that you don't know about, and you know, there's a story to everything.
Well, one other thing, Mike, under Obama, in the 8 years under Obama, GDP, the gross national product, never got over 1% growth in a year. Since Trump's been in there, for the last 3 quarters, it's been over 3% all 3 quarters.
His
first year, it'll be over 3% for his first year, which is unbelievable.
And it's gonna be more prevalent as the time goes on. This is just the beginning, isn't that right?
I hope so.
You know, the car industry. You know, we're looking at Pike County Ford celebrating a grand opening under new ownership, and good friends of mine at Pike County Ford. And you know, you look at all these cars on the you know, and that's how I feel like I can, when I ride by. I rode to Ozark. Actually rode to Dothan and ate at Hunt's this weekend. Have you ever eaten at Hunt's in Dothan much?
Oh, 1,000 times.
Yeah, well, it's great food, and really it had some great oysters and some wonderful shrimp and so forth. But I noticed in Ozark, your guy there has just hundreds of cars. All the Dothan lots were just packed with cars. You know, that right there tell you a little bit about the economy.
Yeah, John Gillen in Ozark he's got Chevrolet, GMC. He just opened a new Ford about a year ago.
That's right.
And it's phenomenal. I mean, they do unbelievable.
Yeah.
They come from everywhere to buy cars.
I'm gonna put you on hold a minute. I'll be right back.
All right.
Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. Or is that you, Will?
It's still me.
All right, here we go. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. Good morning.
Morning.
Mike Amos calling in from Birmingham. Let me see if I can switch y'all over here a minute here. All right, let's see here. All right, one more time here. All right, you on, Mike?
Yeah, I'm on.
Mike Amos. Of course, let's get Will here a minute. All right, Will, are you on?
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go. Mike, you on?
Yeah.
All right, Mike Amos calling in from Birmingham. The Honorable, some people do call you the Honorable Will Matthews. Is that right?
That's true, yes.
Somebody asked me the other day, were you a judge? Or they said, I thought he was a judge. I said, yes, he is a judge. You were the judge of Midland City, city of Midland City, weren't you?
For 30 years, yeah.
And of course, you fill in for the judge here in Troy some, don't you?
I did last Wednesday, I think I was up there.
And do you enjoy being a judge? Do you make good decisions, Will?
Well, I try to be fair, and that's all you can
So, Will, how'd you do in Vegas? I thought you were out there.
No, that was an old picture when I went to the Super Bowl when
Okay, I told Dad I thought you were out there.
no, when New England beat Seattle 3 years ago. I was out there and went to the game. It was in Arizona, and they took a bus from Las Vegas to the game and back. It was fun. I mean, it was really fun.
I mean, I know the game is going to be played in a dome, but can you imagine the fans up there in Minneapolis, how cold it is up there?
Oh, yeah.
I never think that would be a Super Bowl destination spot.
No question about it. Mike,
Did you know Mike had been there before?
Yeah, well, I figured it probably had. I mean, how many years?
At Hubert Humphrey, that was indoor. That was the Hubert Humphrey Stadium, wasn't it?
It's been about 25 years
Yeah.
ago, I think. When
You know, that Hubert Humphrey Stadium stayed open a long time. You know, and they were constantly having to do repairs and everything. Troy played in that stadium, played twice in that stadium, Mike. They played when they played Minnesota.
Game one time.
What now?
You went to that game.
That's
didn't
right. They played Minnesota in that stadium one time. Of course, you know that. What is Minneapolis known for, Will? What is in Minneapolis that is very unusual?
I think it's where Prince lived. That's all I know about it.
Oh, it is. Well, also Minneapolis is the home of the largest mall in the world, and at one time it was the only mall that had a Ferris wheel, a giant Ferris wheel located inside the mall.
That's unbelievable.
I know, it's all right. Will Matthews calling in from Ozark. Mike Amos calling in from Birmingham. Mike, temperature low tonight, 32 degrees in Troy. What's the deal in Birmingham?
I mean, I think it's definitely going to be below freezing. I mean, it's definitely not as bad as it's been.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's hard to believe, like baseball's about to start soon.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I could have been in Tuscaloosa to watch the Alabama game against Oklahoma. I watched that. That was a great game.
Yeah.
Auburn continues to win as well. I mean, they're having an unbelievable season. I hope that you know, they won't. You know, Bruce Pearl will make it through the season and not be fired.
Michael thinks Bruce Pearl will be fired at the end of the season. Isn't that a shame?
There's no way they'll fire him.
Well, I mean, it's not where they. I mean, Auburn don't want to fire him. I mean, the NCAA is going to make him. Isn't that right, Mike?
Chuck Person and the two assistants that were in the investigation, they're going to squeal on Pearl. I mean, there's just no way that he's going to keep his job.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying.
There's no way Bruce Pearl didn't know about what was going on there and how those guys are getting paid.
They're going to probably get some kind of. All right, Will, you're the attorney. Well, I'm making these comments, but don't you think that they'll go ahead and squeal on him? You know, won't they make a deal and let them squeal on him?
Well, the way the federal criminal justice system works, you get a sentence. They give you a sentence. And if you don't help them, if you don't turn in somebody else, your sentence stays the same.
Yeah. So don't you think that's going to happen? You know, they're not going to be left out to dry, don't you think?
All right, say you get sentenced to 10 years, you're going to have to serve 90% of it. So that's 9 years.
Yeah.
Then they say, all right, you turn somebody in, you'll get a 5K reduction, which will cut your sentence in half. Don't you think they're going to do something to get their sentence down to 4 years?
Oh, yeah,
9 years, something like that?
no question about it. So Bruce Pearl is going to probably be out at Auburn, don't you think?
I don't know.
Well, you know, he's already had all kinds of NCAA, you know, sanctions against him when he was at Tennessee, and you know that's how he lost his job there. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be really tough. Which I hate it for Auburn fans because this is an unbelievable season. It's the best team they've had.
Oh yeah.
Chris Porter in 1999.
And their best two players aren't even playing.
Oh, I know it. You're right.
Well,
No question about it.
I told my brother-in-law the other night, there's no great teams in basketball. So if they were able to get Wiley back, which they're not going to be able to,
But you know.
they would have had a chance to go to the Final Four.
Yeah. And then those other two guys, by not playing this year, will be able to walk right into the NBA, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Will, there's a saying about a blue moon. What is that saying?
Once in a blue moon.
Once in a blue moon. All right. That's what I want everybody to know. On Wednesday night, there's going to be once in a blue moon. Mike, have you ever heard of that saying?
I have not.
You never heard somebody say, "Oh, that happens once in a blue moon."
Oh,
Will is on top of everything. Will Matthews is on top of everything. And ladies and gentlemen, Wednesday night, there's going to be a blue moon. Do you know anything about it, Will?
Mike, let me tell you this. You know, you were asking about the weather in Minneapolis. I've got an app on my phone. I can look at the weather anywhere in the world.
Sure.
Well, right now, it's 5 degrees.
Oh, man. Oh, and
Sunday, or on Sunday for the bowl game, the high is going to be 9 degrees and the low is 3 degrees.
oh boy.
Now, that's cold. That's cold.
Yeah. You know something, and we talk about that, but you remember Alabama playing, playing Auburn? Playing Auburn the other night. How did people get to the game? When you look at the game, the place was filled with people. Mike, there was ice. You couldn't go anywhere in Troy, Alabama. How did they get to the game?
Tuscaloosa only had like a dusting though.
Oh,
But the fans at Coleman Coliseum were.
But it was still in the teens. The temperature was still in the teens, I think.
You know, anybody that's a Julio Jones fan, Julio Jones Kia opens this week in Tuscaloosa, so he owns a Kia dealership in Tuscaloosa now. So go buy a car from Julio. He needs the money.
Yeah, Mike. Will's not going to believe this, but Mike, Tiger Woods is back, and he's going to intimidate everybody, and it's going to be just like the old days. Tiger Woods, brave, courageous, and bold. We'll be back right after this.
Who won that tournament?
Did you hear that, Will? Tiger Woods, brave, courageous, and bold. That's what kids are singing in school.
Did Jason Day win it? Who won?
No, they got to play again.
What happened?
They still playing.
Okay,
It got dark. They had 5-hole playoff and it got dark. They had to quit.
Yeah.
Who's all in it?
Jason Day and a guy named Norris from Europe.
Oh yeah, Alex Norris. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
I got Dad in Montgomery the other night for the Alabama Coaches Association meetings, and he got to see Saban and Scott Cochran.
I really did. It was a lot of fun. And Saban, man, everybody talks about him being a ego guy, and I know he is, but he hung around with those folks the whole night. Are we back, guys?
Yeah.
I think we're back on the air, and is that right, guys? We're back. Brought to you by Troy Regional Medical Center.
You got the world's shortest commercial.
I know it. I don't know why we didn't have a longer commercial, but we will. We'll check on that. And of course, we appreciate Bill Jackson Chevrolet, Cadillac, Buick, and GMC on the bypass right here in Troy. And want to mention, Will, we were talking about the economy. And Mike, it's the jobs rates is the lowest in how many years, Will, right now?
Since 92 or 93, the unemployment rate's the lowest it's ever been since then.
And you know, we're talking about way of life. This has got to be set of precedents. I mean, this is still early. I mean, he's going to break some records. What do you think?
The country's the economy's really going well. I love it.
Yeah, and of course, now another thing too that's big. A lot of people here don't realize it, but they've started reconstruction on that pipeline. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. Now, what will it mean?
Come on, the one coming down from Alaska.
Is that right? Or Canada? Whereabouts? Canada or Alaska? Where's that oil coming from, Will?
I think it comes out of Canada. I think it goes right straight through the middle of the United States.
But that has also provided a lot of jobs there too. Is that right?
Yeah.
Of course, another thing that is jumping out at folks too is energy. And what will it mean if we start buying more of our own oil, Will? And why in the world haven't we been doing it for years?
We used to depend on about 75% of our oil would be imported. Now it's about 20%.
And that right there is jobs and money. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one thing about him, you know, he's had some folks to make a big issue over certain. You know, his problem is he talks before he listens, or talks before. I might be accused of that myself, but is too busy wanting to reply, and he's too sensitive about things. If he just sat back and listened and not said anything, he'd be all right, wouldn't he?
Well, you know, he is who he is. He's not going to change.
He is who he is, okay. And now his speech, what do you think he's gonna hit on?
Well, I think the economy is the number one thing, and you know, our border policy, that's got to be something.
Military. All right, now let me ask you this: how much do you think the wall will cost? How many trillions of dollars?
No, 25 billion.
Oh gosh, that's cheap, man. Now, he could almost pay for it himself.
The cost of these people in our country is 10 times that.
Yeah. All right.
They're all growing checks. They're all growing checks.
Oh, I know it. Hey, listen. If you could shut down some of that, your insurance rates would go down. There'd be a lot of things that would go down.
Oh yeah.
And you know, good people. Gosh, hard-working people. There's no question that they are. And but you know, still they need to be legal. You know.
So did you watch the end of the Senior Bowl? Did Silvers get to play at all?
He played two sets, and I don't know what he. I think he completed a couple of passes, maybe, but.
I mean, I guess they just wanted to play Baker Mayfield and the Allen kid from Wyoming.
Yeah, evidently.
They think that kid from Wyoming might be the top pick at quarterback.
I know it, but I've heard.
That's not good that Silvers barely got to play though.
But let me tell you this: I heard though on the radio on Sirius Radio. From a guru, one of these recruiting gurus, said that he'd had a great week, and everybody was talking about him. So we're looking forward to that.
Mike, the guy that everybody's talking about from the Senior Bowl is a quarterback from Western Kentucky. They said his stock went way up. He's jumped up into the top 10.
Is his name White? Is his last name White?
That's right.
Yeah, but I knew that he was really good. You know, of course, the Louisville O'Brien, the Purdue coach, recruited all those guys, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
I don't know.
Yeah. You know, we talk about Auburn's basketball team, Will, but Alabama's playing well too, beating a good team like Oklahoma and shutting down this guy. Who does this shooter for Oklahoma remind you of? Somebody told me that he looked a lot like, you know, he's rangy and like Maravich. What do you think?
Well, I think he's a lot like Steph Curry.
Yeah, he's not a Maravich type. He is a guy that.
They say that he has all the shots, you know, like Maravich. He
averages 9 assists a game, though.
Yeah. Somebody told me that he could probably average 20 points a game shooting hook shots. It's amazing how.
This guy has unlimited range. He can shoot it whenever he goes past half court.
Well, let me see how well versed you are in basketball over the years. You know, everybody talked about Maravich, and Maravich averaged 43 points a game for his career. His career, he averaged 43 points a game, and they didn't even have the 3-point shot. But name me some other hot shots back then, Will, that people might have forgotten.
Well, Mike, I was there in Tuscaloosa when Maravich had his career high in a game.
Yeah.
He had 69 points in a game, and LSU still lost the game.
That's right.
Like
That's right.
105 to 102, something like that.
Uh-huh.
Wasn't there some great player from Ole Miss, Johnny Newman or something?
Johnny Newman, Mike. Hey, I had that down listed. Johnny Newman. You remember him, Will? Kid played at Ole Miss. They could just score. I mean, what I'm saying, he shot it every time he got it, you know, but he could score. And
he went into the ABA and had a real good career in the ABA, and then got hurt, and then that wound him up. But
yeah,
he was a good player.
That's right, and they didn't have the three.
The kid from LSU years later, Chris Jackson, averaged like 33 a game.
Yeah. Well, also Auburn had a great scorer. You know who that was?
John Mingale.
John Mingale was a big scorer for Auburn, and of course Alabama had a pretty big scorer back then. I want to say his name was Andrews. Do you remember him? A guy named Andrews that played for Alabama.
I thought the guy they had back in the day was Jerry Harper.
No, that was a long time now. That was the Rocket 8, Jerry Harper. Jerry Harper played with Rocket 8. How would you know anything about that, Mike?
How many did Mule King average a game?
I don't know, but Mule King was my all-time favorites. Name some of the great Alabama players. Mule King.
I think Charles Cleveland was as good as anybody they ever had.
Out of, you know where he was from, Mike? Cleveland.
I know.
Cleveland was right down the road, Mike, where you bought your barbecue.
Oh, Maplesville?
No, Twix and Twain.
No, Centerville.
Centerville. He was from Centerville. Well, actually, the little town next to Centerville, whatever the name that town was. And he was a great player. But of course, you had Mule King, but then and of course, Charles Cleveland was a great one. You had Leon Douglas was a great one at Alabama. You remember him?
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, name me some old guards, Mike, that were so good.
For Alabama, I mean, what years?
For Alabama, just back in the heyday of Wimp Sanderson and those
I
guys.
mean, he had Enos Wadley.
Had Ross Scott. Enos Wadley was a great one, yeah.
Gary Waits was a great guard. Terry Connor.
Terry Connor was a great penetrating guard.
The greatest scorer they ever had was James Robinson.
James who?
James Hollywood Robinson.
Mike, I don't even remember him.
Oh, my goodness. He's the greatest scorer Wimp ever had.
James Robinson?
James Hollywood Robinson.
Mike.
From Mississippi. Are you kidding me?
I don't remember him. I don't remember him. I'm thinking of another guy from Mississippi that was great.
He scored more points in a game than anybody.
Who was a great player from Mississippi, Mike? That
Derek McKee from
yeah, McKee was good, but I'm talking about better than Derek McKee.
You always think he's so great.
Mike, the guy that went in the draft, and if it hadn't gone in the draft, Alabama could have won the national championship.
Antonio McDyess.
Antonio McDyess. You're exactly right, son. You win a cup of coffee from McDonald's the next time I see you.
I mean, you had Robert Ory, you had Sprewell.
Robert Ory, gosh, the great Robert Ory.
Michael Ansley.
All you got to do is just go down the line of these great players and know why Alabama was so good back then.
All right, do you want my list? And I grew up a basketball fan.
Okay.
Bandy. I would say Eddie Phillips. You remember Eddie?
You're right. From very well. From now he didn't play at Woodlawn. He played at what's that other school, Mike? Eddie Phillips played for it in Birmingham.
He played it. He didn't play at Banks.
No, he played at Phillips. Did Eddie Phillips play at Phillips? No, there was another school named Phillips that was real good too. All right, go ahead, Will.
All right, I would say T.R. Dunn. You remember?
Yeah, you're exactly right. The great T.R. Dunn. But he was known as a great defensive player too.
Then Leon Douglas.
Leon Douglas.
And I think Mule King probably the best player ever at
Oh,
Alabama.
I loved Mule King. And we used to go. We used to go even to the NITs. They'd have it in Birmingham. Oh, we had some good times going to some of those games.
Well, back then in the 70s, the NIT was just as good as the NCAA tournament.
Of course, Auburn had some pretty good ones too, but I don't think anybody had as many good ones as Alabama had. Boy, they were good. And then, of course, the kid from Dothan, Mike, and the kid from Mobile.
Jim Farmer, Mark Arthur.
That's right. Jim Farmer and Mark Godfrey all played for Wimp at Alabama.
Yeah, I mean, Farmer was first-round draft pick in the NBA draft.
Who was that?
Farmer
I had no idea he was the number one draft choice.
Yeah.
All right, Will, what you going to say?
All right, do you remember George Lynn?
Yes, that was a long time, though.
He was with the Rocket 8.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know where George Lynn lives?
I have no idea. Or you probably going to tell me Ozark.
Dothan.
No, I didn't know.
He lives in Dothan, and I know his daughter very well, and he's a Facebook friend of mine, and really nice man.
Yeah.
George Lynn.
Okay, that is something.
Will's favorite Vanderbilt player of all time is Barry Goheen.
Barry Goheen.
No,
All right.
no.
I tell you, he was a good one. Of course, let me tell you this, Mike. They had in the '60s, they had Fosnes, Fear, Ford, and Brand-Bettercroft. You remember them, Will? The fabulous four at Vanderbilt.
Joe Ford and Jeff Fosnes were roommates of mine.
Fosnes, Fear, and Ford, and Brand-Bettercroft. A 6'7" guard. You remember him?
Well, hey, Mike, Joe Ford and Jeff Fosnes were roommates of mine at Vanderbilt.
Oh no! Don't tell me that, Will. Don't be telling me that, Will.
No, let me tell you.
You mean two of the F Troop? They were called the F Troop, Mike. Isn't that right, Will?
They were the younger ones of the F Troop. Do you remember back? Vanderbilt didn't have a jock dorm like Alabama did.
Yeah.
What we had in Carmichael Towers, we had suites of eight people, and they were in my suite. There, Jeff and Joe were there. 2 football players were there. 2 baseball players were there, and I was there as a golfer, and there was a tennis player.
Yeah.
So we had eight people living together, and Jeff Fosnes is a doctor out in Colorado. Great guy.
You know, Bredicoff's daddy was a coach. You know, he was a good-looking kid, 6'7", guard, played guard at 6'7".
Played guard, but his senior year, Vanderbilt had a real good center get hurt. And Van Bredicoff said, I want us to go somewhere, so I'm going to play center. He played center his last year, made All-America as a center.
Well, let me tell you this. I was at the game, and a lot of people out there that love basketball were at the game too. When Alabama played Vanderbilt in Tuscaloosa at Coleman Coliseum, it was played on a Sunday. They played on a Sunday, and it was for the championship. Alabama led the game with Leon Douglas. You know, Douglas was 6'10", and then there was a couple of guys. One kid was from Robert E. Lee High School in Montgomery. That was really good for Alabama. But what happened later on in the game, Vanderbilt started holding the ball, and Alabama started fouling them. In that game, I think Vanderbilt hit 19 out of 20 free throws. It was probably the best free throw shooting team maybe in the history of college basketball. You just did not foul a Vanderbilt kid unless you were going to pay for it.
Well, was there no shot clock?
No, it was no shot clock. It was no shot clock back then. And also, they just shot lights out at the free throw line. Once you get up, you know, like you said, without a shot clock, that you had to foul to get back in the game.
Mike, that year Alabama lost 2 games in the SEC. You know,
Do you remember that game, Will, that played in Tuscaloosa on a Sunday afternoon? Do you remember that?
I was there. What are you talking about?
Yeah, okay. You were a young guy, though, but your daddy took you to all the games, didn't he?
Bandy won by 2 points.
That's right.
Yep, Terry Compton stole the ball.
Yeah, that was another great one. But did Compton play with the F Troop?
Yes.
He was not a starter though, was he?
Oh yeah, he started. Yeah, he was a forward.
Well, I didn't know Compton played with the F Troop.
Well, I thought your dad was. I thought Will's dad was a Tennessee grad, big Tennessee guy.
Well, I don't know, but Will, you were going to Vanderbilt at that time. Is that right?
My dad was head cheerleader at Tennessee, but he went to law school at Vandy and became friends with Roy Skinner.
Yeah.
The Vandy basketball coach, so he became a Vandy fan.
And I remember Roy Skinner, and Tennessee was so good back then. And tell us the 2 great players that played at Tennessee, and they were a lot of fun. Bernie and Ernie. And they were coached. What was the guy? What was his name that coached at Tennessee?
Ray Mears.
Ray Mears. Boy, they were a great team. Sid Elliott from right down here at Enterprise. Did you know he played on that team? Did you know that?
I did not.
Or he played for Ray Mears. And I tell you somebody else that played for Ray Mears that a lot of people don't realize that was so good was Ron Whidbey the great punter for the Dallas Cowboys. Have you ever heard of him, Ron Whitby?
Yeah, he was a good basketball player.
Yeah, that's right. But Sid Elliott, the coach down at Enterprise for all those years, married my buddy from Hartford's sister, Tom Bryan's sister, was a great player at Tennessee, and he just laid back guy and nice guy. No question. But those teams, all those teams, all right, name me some of these great Kentucky players, starting with Kevin Greavy, Rick Roby, Kyle Macy. Boy, you could just name a bunch. I couldn't name any of these folks now, Will.
Well, they don't play but 1 year and then they're gone.
That's right. That's exactly right. But you remember all those? Hey, Louis Dampier. How about the great one? Back when Mavericks was so good at LSU, Kentucky had Dan Issel. You remember him? How good he was.
He was a very good player.
And he averaged, gosh, in the 30s himself. You know.
And I don't think he ever played in the NBA. He played in the ABA.
Yeah, that's right. The ABA was big back then. You're exactly right. And but you could just go on and on and on with all the great Kentucky players. Of course, the great coach in the NBA played at Kentucky. What's his name, Mike?
Pat Riley.
Pat Riley played on some of those teams, and but Kevin Greavy and Kyle Macy and that bunch, you couldn't help but root for Kentucky back then.
They were good.
And you would constantly hear their announcer, who was a household word. You know who that was, Will? K. Wood Ledford, and the Big Blue, and Joe B. Hall. You remember when Joe B. Hall coached there? But it was a lot of fun to watch basketball back in those days. And then Mississippi State had Red Stroud and a bunch of great players at one time. They were real good. Did you know that, Will?
Oh, yeah.
That they were real good back in the day.
Reggie King is the all-time leading scorer in Alabama history.
Is he really?
168 points.
Reggie King. You think this guy they got now will break it?
Oh, well, he's going pro.
Yeah.
Nobody stays 4 years
right.
anymore.
Exactly right. Will and I were talking about the Plaid Palace, Mike. Do you remember when Wimp coached there that the everything was plaid? I thought it was pretty neat. The cheerleaders and the dancers all wore plaid. You remember that?
Yeah, I mean, I work with Wimp's son Barry Sanderson. So I've heard all kinds of
the 3-second lanes were plaid. It was a classy thing. And then they had that mask, Will, that had old Wimp in that snarl. And what else was unique about old Wimp, Mike?
Here's the greatest scores in NCAA history. Pete Maravich averaged 44.2 a game.
All right, I'm gonna throw one out before you mention it. Played at Niagara. The guy that played at Niagara.
Isn't that incredible though? He averaged 44 a game.
40 for his career.
Yeah.
Isn't that unreal? And they did not have the 3-point play back then. He would have scored 80. He might have scored 100 points if they'd had 3-point play in a game. All right, now who is second leading scorer, Mike?
A guy I never even heard of, Freeman Williams from Portland State.
I remember Freeman Williams. All right, how about Fly that played for Austin Peay? Fly. All right, who was number 3?
Lionel Simmons played at LaSalle. Then there's a guy from Mississippi Valley State, Doug McDermott played at Creighton. A lot of these names, you've heard of Oscar Robinson.
Oh, yeah, the Big O. What did he average?
33.8.
He was a great player. How about Jerry West?
What about Lou Alcindor? What did he average?
Yeah, I know it. What did he average?
I'm trying to find him on here.
Larry Bird had to average a pile when he was in college.
Yeah, he did. Of course,
Larry Bird averaged 30.3.
And he played at Indiana State. Hey, I tell you a great one, Cazzie Russell. What did he average?
I'm not seeing it.
Bill Bradley. What did Bill Bradley average? The senator.
I'm not seeing it either.
You remember he was a state senator, or U.S. senator.
Yeah, I'm seeing what they have.
How many did Bob Pettit average? in college?
His name's not showing up.
But how about Johnny Newman? What did he average?
See, I mean, I don't know. For some reason, some of these aren't showing up. I think they're showing up like 4-year players.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
This is more points at all time, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, it was interesting.
Maravich's records will never be.
Oh no.
To being beat.
But you know, you would think though, one of these hot shot, with the 3-pointers, could do something similar to that, but it just doesn't happen. But it would have been unreal with Maravich shooting the 3-point play. All right, Will, are you still all right? Are you going to take the points, or are you going to give the points in the Super Bowl?
I think I'm going to take them.
You're going to take them, so you're gonna take Philadelphia +4.
Yep, and under whatever the over/under is.
Will, that's taking a chance, man. I think New England's gonna beat them 2 or 3 touchdowns. What do you think, Mike?
I mean, I don't know. New England usually plays everybody pretty close in the Super Bowl. I think Philadelphia's got a real good defense.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Giving Belichick a couple weeks to get ready, I'll take New England, but I think it'll be a really close game.
Will, I ate lunch at Hunt's there in Dothan this weekend. That place has been around a long time, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, it's a great place.
Of course, it's an oyster bar, but boy, their fried oysters and fried shrimp were wonderful. I mean, wonderful.
Yeah.
And I went down.
Do people still go to Conestoga down there?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, everybody goes to Conestoga, and they
I was driving through Dothan one day. Dothan has more restaurants than any place in Alabama on that circle.
They do.
Yeah.
There's so many places to go. What's that other steakhouse we used to go to down there?
The Old Mill.
Conestoga.
The Old Mill.
Is this still open?
The Old Mill.
Yeah, that's it. That's their brother and sister. Isn't that right, Will? Their brother and sister.
Steve Slavins is the one who owns the Old Mill, and his brother owns Conestoga.
Yeah. Hey, Will, have you ever gone to Mollywood? On down 231?
Never been.
Boy, I went by there. That is a wonderful place. And then I also went over to Enterprise and saw my good buddy Andy Mike and
PS Falk Furniture.
Yeah, PS Falk Furniture. And boy, that's a great place to go too. Will, I also saw the construction of Troy Bank and Trust Company. What highway is that out there that goes to Enterprise? Enterprise Highway?
84, it's within a block of my house.
Yeah, and of course, Troy Bank and Trust Company, the only bank you'll ever need. Troy Bank Trust Company's now got 12 locations.
Well, it's going to have one within 100 yards of my house.
Well, good. And I look forward to the opening of that. And
good talk, y'all.
All right, thank you so much. Will Matthews calling in from Ozark this morning. Also, here comes another cup of coffee. Let's have another cup of coffee. Let's have a cup of Nescafe. Old commercial there. Hey, let's come up with some old commercials, Mike. Do you know any of them? Hello. I believe I lost him too. But ladies and gentlemen, the other day I was at a dealership and I told Jim Jackson, I said, do you remember, see the USA in your Chevrolet, America's inviting you to try. Chevrolet, Bill Jackson Chevrolet, located on Highway 231 north in Troy, and of course they've got all the General Motors cars right there under one roof, and we appreciate them. We also appreciate our good friends at Bird Drugs on the corner in downtown Troy. One of the great local drug stores in America is Bird Drugs, where you can eat this morning starting at 7 o'clock. And let me tell you what I go by. Their bacon is so good. And you can smell it all over the square, and it makes you hungry. And I go in and I said, give me give me some bacon, give me some hot grits without butter, give me some hard-toasted toast, wheat toast. Give me about 3 or 4 jellies and a cup of coffee, and I am ready to go. Bird Drugs on the square in downtown Troy. Of course, they also have the great hamburgers and the milkshakes and all that, but they're open for breakfast every weekday morning, including Saturday mornings. And of course, Joe Watson, one of the great people of all time, and we appreciate him. Want to mention some old stores that around the square, and of course the Quallses and the still run the jewelry store in downtown Troy, and of course they've been around a long time, and you know, there's a lot of tradition behind a lot of buildings in downtown Troy, and of course I want to mention Troy Nissan on the bypass right here in Troy, and I want to say hello to Dwayne Webb. Dwayne Webb, history will state that Dwayne Webb was the first soccer style kicker in Charles Tennyson High School history. You know, I told you I saw the great Ronaldo, Sin K. Pennington last week, but Dwayne was a fine football player and was a soccer style kicker, and handled all the kicking. And of course, for a long time, has been owners of Troy Nissan on the bypass in Troy, where they've got a great selection of Nissan cars and trucks. I want to mention Marguerite's in Montgomery for fine jewelry. Marguerite's is the place you want to go now with a new location right there on, and of course, I want to mention our good friends at Sandbuck Insurance, Denny Sanford. They've been in the insurance business since the late, listen to this, the late 1800s, when they were F&M National, F&M Bank of Troy. Sisters and ladies and gentlemen, of course, wonderful, wonderful lunch today at Sisters. I recommend on Mondays the fried oysters. They're delicious. They'll come out with 12 to 14 fried oysters, and with a salad and with French fries or whatever you'd like. And let me just say this, it is wonderful and it's reasonable. They have it every Monday, fried oysters or fried shrimp if you would prefer shrimp. But it's all good, fresh seafood at Sisters. And of course, they'll have they'll just have one day meat and 3 today. And like I said, with those salads, their salads are wonderful too. And then of course the seafood to go with that meal. And then on Wednesdays they have the full buffet, country buffet, and they'll have that Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then another buffet on Saturday, or excuse me, not Saturday, but on Sunday, and that is delicious food. And of course they have 2 night meals, one on Thursday night and one on Friday night. They'll actually have a buffet at night. We appreciate so much our sponsors today. BB&T, located on Highway 231, right there at the shopping center, and of course we appreciate them so much. Check with BB&T on your rates. They've got great rates on mortgage rates and your automobile at very good interest rates. So call them today and check with them and see what they have to offer when it comes to mortgage rates or rates on your automobile at BB&T. I want to mention Wise Office Supply right across the street from us, Lane and Lyle Wise, 2 of my very closest friends, and they've been in the business a long time. Of course, their dad started that business back in the 50s, and of course they have continued to provide great service to the people of Pike and surrounding counties. I want to mention also the Withington Group. Remember, you're in good hands with Allstate. See Perry Green at the Withington Group right here in Troy. We'll be right back.
Never know how. Here's some Napa know-how for you. Your local Napa Auto Parts store in Troy is under new ownership with an all-new fully stocked store. Big deal, you say? Big deal, we say. Like the ownership, the store has a new look, too. We're still delivering the same Napa quality and know-how, but we've increased our inventory and are committed to helping you find the parts you need when you need them. So come check us out. We've got the right part at the right price at the right time.
Know-how, Napa know-how.
Troy Cable is the leader in smart home security, giving you solutions to monitor, protect, and automate your home. Troy Cable Security keeps your property safe with 24/7 professional monitoring and emergency response. Control thermostats and lighting remotely, which allow options for saving energy and money. Control access to your home remotely with integrated controls for door locks. You can even add our smart home cameras, which allow you to see what you care about instantly. Troy Cable Security. You love them, protect them.
Life is hectic enough without worrying if your lights will stay on or if there's hot water for your child's bath. So count on natural gas to keep the energy flowing, even when the weather is unpredictable. Natural gas is always there to keep your home warm, showers hot, and food cooked to perfection. That's why America has relied on safe and affordable natural gas for more than 150 years. And we will be here for you and future generations too. You can count on natural gas from Southeast Alabama Gas District.
Have you seen an increase in your insurance premiums or significant change in your insurance coverage? Let Sandbeck Insurance offer you a better plan to suit your business or personal needs. Sandbeck Insurance offers many lines of insurance, whether it's home, farm, or auto insurance, work comp, business, or health and life policies. Sandbeck is here for you. Call or visit our Troy, Enterprise, or Andalusia office today. Sandbeck Insurance, where we take pride in taking care of your insurance.
Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by Town and Country Flooring on North 39th Street right here in Troy. And, of course, not only do they have all kinds of flooring, from brick to slate to tile to carpet galore, wood flooring, or whatever you need for your flooring, they've got it. But also they're big into the grill business, ladies and gentlemen. They got the best selection of first quality grills you'll find anywhere. We're talking about barbecue grills, and they've got what is equivalent to the green egg, and a lot of people like it even better, and it's more reasonably priced. Is at the Pike County, and of course, when you go in there and look for flooring, they've got the best selection of flooring you'll find anywhere at Town and Country Flooring. I want to mention also our good friends that every time I go to eat barbecue, I feel like that Hook's Barbecue in Troy is the best barbecue I've ever eaten, and of course it's a wonderful, wonderful barbecue, from barbecue pork to chicken. They have delicious barbecue rice. They've got the best barbecue in town, without a doubt, is at Hook's Barbecue. I want to mention a big thing that's happened in southwest Alabama, or actually in Dothan. Former T.R. Miller coach Jamie Riggs, the third winningest high school football coach in Alabama state history, is now owner of 4 state titles, and its new head football coach, ladies and gentlemen, at Houston Academy. Can you believe that? Of course, Houston Academy is a private school. It would not. He can do what we say, double dip, and he's one of the best football coaches to ever come out of Alabama. In 2010, he was named a Hall of Fame inductee. Riggs had a 305-81 record over 27 seasons, mostly at T.R. Miller. He was 293-62 at T.R. Miller. He was also head coach at Opp from 1986 to 88, going 12-19. Can you believe that? And then turned it around. The 305 wins trails only current Vestavia Hills coach Buddy Anderson, who has 329, and retired Fayette County coach Walden Tucker. But let me tell you this, our guy at Luverne, Glenn Daniel, had it before that. So, of course, Glenn Daniel, the great Luverne coach, was the first held that position as the winningest high school coach in Alabama history for a long time before Walden Tucker took over at Fayette High School. So Riggs is a great football coach, no question about it. Eufaula gets a great one, ladies and gentlemen, and they get him from Elba. And Coach Rigby is the new head football coach at Eufaula High School. Ed Rigby from Elba will now be the new head football coach at Eufaula High School. That is has not been announced officially yet, but I've heard it from a good source that Ed Rigby is the new head football coach at Eufaula High School, and he is a good one. Of course, now Elba will be looking for a new coach. Of course, we mentioned last week that Troy University is coaches are doing well. There's a good article in the paper today about one of the all-time great, I would say, great players at Troy is now working for the Oakland Raiders, the Raiders, and we'll mention that today. Of course, his name is Derek Ansley. He played football 4 years at Troy, came out of a good program in Tallahassee. Of course, he coached a few places before he hooked on at Alabama, and of course he replaced Ansley had joined the Raiders as a defensive backs coach after coaching the same position on Alabama's 2017 national championship team. Also, Ansley's bio, the Raiders say Ansley helped the Crimson Tide win the 2018 BCS national championship. He is a fine young coach. Ansley also was actually offered a job to be as a defense coordinator at Colorado State, but the Denver Post reported January the 8th that he will be take the offer of the Oakland Raiders, coached by John Gruden, and that's the rest of the story. And I've got a picture in my office of the game Troy when they played Nebraska. They showed a goal line stand, and this freshman, who probably didn't weigh more than 180 pounds, Ansley, stood up the Nebraska running back right there at the line of scrimmage and preserved a goal line stand. And I forgot that picture. And of course, he was a great one, and will probably become a big-time coach in the next few years after he gets all this NFL experience. Of course, again, you know, this is the time of year you hear about coaching changes, and of course, Troy University, Neil Brown, you know, loses good coaches because he hires good coaches. And Summerall, Coach Summerall, his linebacker coach, is about as good as you're going to find anywhere, and he is going to Ole Miss as the linebackers coach, and now Troy will have to replace him. They also lose Ken Eddingfield, who was the co-offensive coordinator at Troy, and he is heading to South Alabama to join former Troy coach Campbell, and who is the new head football coach at South Alabama. So we lose them, and we'll gain them. What we'll do, we'll just hire some more good young coaches, and they'll become famous like these guys. And hope you've enjoyed our show today. Of course, you know, you're welcome to call in and talk about anything you want to talk about. And of course, it is Super Bowl week, and I'm sure we'll be talking a lot about the Super Bowl the rest of the week. But hey, we'll talk about anything. And want to mention the coming up very soon is this blue moon. And we'll talk about that. And hopefully I can have an expert in here to explain it to us tomorrow right here on this show. Have a great day.